Okay, so we're here today in sunny and warm northeastern Canada in Nova Scotia to do a review of this MTD Gold 30-inch 3-stage 420cc snowblower. This is a 2016 model, and from what I understand, they did not reproduce this model this year. Now, MTD is also the main manufacturer for MTD, Toro, Cub Cadet, Columbia, Yardman, Yardworks. Any of those blowers that you're buying today, they all come out of the same plant, and they all use the same, some differing components depending on the model, depending on the brand. This snowblower, I had it last year and I got hurt, and I only got to use it once before somebody else had to use it, and then we had some issues with it, which I will explain later. It's 30 inches wide. It has a 21.5-inch throat here, which if I was to do it again, I would definitely look at the high frame Columbia models or Cub Cadet models that have a higher frame for the amount of snow that we receive here. It's got the 420cc Powermore engine. From what I've seen, they've changed the controls a little bit on the 2017 models, put the primer and the choke, throttle and key in a different position up here, but you can tell by looking at the controls that they're all the same. These Powermore engines are Chinese-built winter engines. Although the snowblowers are made in the US, these engines are made in China. So if you're running the Troy-bilt or any of the other brands I mentioned, yes, you're running a Chinese-built engine. I bought this based on the recommendation of a friend of mine who happened to be a tool and equipment buyer for a hardware store chain. And last year, like I said, I only got to use it once, and then a couple others used it. They managed to go through a lot of shear pins before my wife finally jammed a rock in it and hurt it really bad. This one has a plastic chute on it. Some of the Columbia and Cub Cadet HD models and 3X models come with a steel chute. I don't really have any problem with the plastic chute. As most people that will be watching this know, there's belts in here. This is 6-speed, 2 forward, 1 reverse. And it has a remote control chute. Okay, and it also has heated hand grips, as you see. The controllers here. It does have electric start. Just plug it in, just like everything, just like the rest of them. Now, this one here, I'll tell you about some of the issues I've had. One of the biggest issues I've had was shear pin issues, and that was when other people were using it and misusing it, or so on and so forth. So now last year, my wife managed to jam a rock in it, and the rock got jammed between the bottom of the housing there on the inside of the 3rd stage auger here, and it was a pretty big rock, and it proceeded to bend the center shaft and tear the seals out of the gearbox, and of course that wouldn't be covered under warranty. So I waited until June when I was mobile again, and I fixed it myself. Here's what the center shaft of one of these looks like. As you can see, I had to grind it to get one bearing off. I just couldn't be bothered trying to get this one off. So it cost me $75 for a new shaft, and all the assorted money for the 4 seals, 1 more bearing I replaced. But I had it all apart and learned a lot when I had it apart. It's really a pretty good machine, works pretty well. So now, other things I've learned about snowblowers is there's a big gap between the housing and the impeller. This is a 4-blade impeller, 12 inches wide, and it throws snow pretty good. It doesn't throw snow as far as they claim. So I decided to make some changes and do some rubber impellers down in there. So now when I modified the impeller in this, I was putting hard rubber paddles on the inside of the impeller to tighten it up inside the auger housing, and I did 2 of them to try it, and it seems to work pretty good, but I don't really see any reason why I shouldn't bother doing all 4. So I'm using a piece of a truck mud flap, approximately 1/4 inch thick, pretty sturdy rubber. You make it a little bit big, and after the impeller turns a few times, it wears into the auger housing pretty good. So I'm going to proceed to do the other 2 now. So we're going to disassemble the blower here a little bit further down and make some changes. Hopefully get it to throw some snow, and hopefully I'll be able to give you a little demo in a little bit. And there we go. Now we have full access to the impellers. So here's your 4-blade impeller. And if you back it down a bit, you'll see that there's a pretty good gap in there most times. And there's one blade there. With the attachment I did. I used a piece of rubber. You can see where it's wearing nicely into the housing there, wearing itself down. And I cut some stainless things to use. I was going to use 2 big washers, but I figured a little stainless plate would be better. And I used nuts with nylock nuts. Okay, this is all it takes to do a couple of paddles. Just a couple of pieces of that good thick rubber that I was telling you about. A couple of stainless plates. You could use galvanized washers or whatever you wanted to use. Doesn't really matter. A couple of bolts with nylon nuts. And I use a piece of wood there to hold the impeller while I get to drill it. And I'll line up the plates, and then I'll line up the rubber and drill some holes and jam it together. Okay, here we are, and all 4 impellers are now done. I had 2 done, I just did 2 more. It took me about 15 minutes tops. I'll just give it a little turn over. You can see how they really clean the outside there, and the new ones will wear in pretty quick. And it eats up that 3/8 of an inch of clay that was in there between the impeller and the auger housing. We'll jam her back together and we'll give her a test run. Alright, we're all back together. Took about 5 minutes. Put it back together. These things are really, really easy to take apart and put back together. Anybody with very limited management skills should be able to take care of it. The other thing I didn't mention earlier was the skid plates on this model were plastic. And you can obviously tell after just half a winter here with a couple of big storms, these ones here are worn out pretty good. I do run it on a gravel driveway, which is obviously harder on them, but I'll replace these ones here with some metal ones when the time comes when I wear them out on the other side. I just flip them over. The other thing I found when I first got it is it's really slow in reverse. Even in the second reverse gear I find it pretty slow. What you really want to do with this machine is make sure you adjust it down here. And I know some of the newer ones, the shift cable is not a cable, it's a rod. Makes no difference. You want to put this thing in 6th gear and then adjust this with these 2 bolts right here. Make it as tight as possible, and that way you'll have maximum reverse when you go into R2. R1 is just very, very slow. We're going to take it outside now and test it. There's got a little bit of snow left out there. It's gone down quite a bit in the last week. The other thing I noticed is even though it does have these X-Track tires on it, which all the new snowblowers seem to come with, I do seem to find that it has traction trouble in the deep conditions. I did post another video you can look at that shows me using it out there after the last big storm. Other than that, we'll take it out, test it, and see how the impellers are. Okay, so here we are outside. We got a little bit of snow that we can test fire this thing in. Conditions have dropped considerably here in the last week. We had a lot of snow. I always plow a track around the backyard to take the dog out in. This is very, very heavy and wet snow now. And we'll just do a dip tech here to see how deep it is. And we've got a foot of snow here, 10 inches or so on the side. A lot of this snow has been blowing in here. I had it running for a few seconds there, make sure the impellers were ground down to the housing size. And now we're going to fire it up. This is a very easy starting machine, I find. Full choke usually starts on first, second pull, no trouble at all. You know, if it's in the garage, use the electric start. Other than that, we'll set this up and give you a little view of how it shoots. This is the MTD Gold 3-stage, same as the Toro, Cub Cadet, whatever. And like I said, conditions don't get a lot heavier than that. That is hard packed, wet snow. Seems to work pretty good. I think the impellers made a good difference. I'll know more when we get another snowstorm, another month or something probably. And we'll go from there. Anybody watching, thanks for watching. I'm not a professional YouTuber. It's not a pay video, so flame on.